In today's episode of the Back in Time series, we take you to circa 1910, to the corner of 5th Avenue East and 4th Street in Duluth, Minnesota. And here's the same corner as we see it today. And off the bat, we notice all these buildings used to have all these beautifully decorated gables. And look at the detail on this one. Look at those fans carved into the side of the building here. And what does this header say here? It's hard to make out. This building currently is nameless. When we zoom in, we see what looks to be possibly art home? Or is it missing a letter in the front there, making it a B, Barth home? Or is it a G? This is what I tend to think, Gart home. And beautiful detail in these buildings. Yet, we have these dirty canopies, these awnings made out of cloth. You see them on all these old world buildings, covering up all the detail and stonework. This one says market on it. And, oh, look, drugs, Chancellor Drugs. Look at these dirty old signs that don't even match these beautiful buildings. The building next door, how much better shape this is, and now it's interesting. Look at what Chancellor is defined as, and we call that Chancellor Drug. Kind of interesting. Maybe that has something to do with this great reset time and getting the pharmaceutical drugs onto the population. And then we have the building next door. This one is interesting. This is the one that has the Haddad Tax Company out of it. And now it's a confectionery here in 1910, which would have been a candy store. A candy maker. Or would this have been the dentist next door? I'm just kidding. And this building no longer exists. I can't quite make out what its beautiful awning has on it. Look at that thing falling apart. It's a beautiful church. Look at this conical cap on tower of nothing. And then look at these. Of course, the trolleys look the same at every continent worldwide at this time. Must have been the same designer somehow. Interesting. And this building, look at how much more detail is on this. There's a few different gables. Looks like a buried stairway here. Millinery. That is actually a women's hat manufacturer. Oh, she must have got her hat there. Beautiful hat. Going in to get some more. Oh, look at this here. We've got buried windows. We've got boarded up windows. We've got boards nailed into the concrete here, the grout. Wonder why? This beautifully built building here. Look at the chimney that's still in place. And these gables. And look at these spherical globes on the sides. Think how much time and effort that would have taken by hand. And 7 arches. That's interesting. And this gable appears to have some kind of insignia we cannot make out. And I don't know what it says. Currently, it says the Bell Apartments. They must have put that on there later. Look at the brickwork and detail on this place. And that building connected to it with gear exchange in it now is already there. And look at these beautiful awnings. They're not even pulled out yet. They're all wrapped up. And something looks a little weird about this tree, does it not? This tree looks like it could be doctored. It looks like it's in the sidewalk or something. But it's also interesting that this is right where our Daugherty building, which was supposedly built in 1912, would have been. I don't know if this is some kind of doctoring or if it's legitimate, and that building wasn't built yet and only built in one year in 1911. But then we look down here. It is beautiful. You see the trolley tracks everywhere. And in today's episode, we will show you what this corner looks like today in 2025. And first we go to the north side of the block to 501 East 4th Street. And this building currently houses the break room pool hall, and formerly the Twins Bar was supposedly built in 1890. And interesting tidbit about this building, I could not find any name or title affiliated with it, even though it appears to say Gartholm or something like that in the old pictures. The earliest records do show that it was a drugstore that was a tenant though, and that's the earliest I could find. But you can see the front of it has really been dressed down, but the side still remains quite detailed. But it is interesting, there's a lot of filled in old windows, but you can see a lot of the detail remains here. And here's a picture of it about 15 years ago when it was the former Twins Bar. You can see back then they had this brick arch doorway covered up. And since then it's been exposed. Beautiful. Kind of interesting that's been covered up my whole life. And notice how dressed down and plain this building has become since the picture we're investigating in 1910. Kind of a shame. And as per usual in the narrative, all of these old world buildings all were built in a year or less. And you can tell it's tiny and half buried. That takes us to the south side of the block here at 504 East 4th Street. And what appears to be the Bell Apartments at one point or another. Yet also, in researching this structure, I was unable to find anything on a Bell apartment in Duluth, Minnesota whatsoever. And the detail that does remain is beautiful. Of course, they've got the arch motif and the old world flowers. And as you can see, all the domes have been removed and the chimney's been removed. You can still see the step brickwork here and the rough cut stone sillwork. And then we have the stone basement with the buried windows, signature of these old world buildings. And you can see the detail in the brickwork on the side here, how there's columns, three-dimensional columns kind of put in for decoration. You gotta have that in your building built in a year in 1892, am I right? And this structure is quite large. And let's get a look at the back of this structure here to show you the size of it. You can see these two are connected here. And interesting about this yellow brick building with the arches, it is considered part of the building to its right, which it's connected to, the Bell Apartment building. And that has been the case since the early 1900 records show. So the records do not give a specific build date on this yellow brick building, but only say that the structure in general was built in 1892. That's quite interesting. And the fact that the records show that this building is part of the other building, it kind of points towards these being repurposed structures. I mean, if they were built to purpose, how in just a few short decades would these buildings be won? And who could have guessed more buried arches and bricked in arches? I mean, what a surprise, huh? And from the back side, these buildings definitely look ancient and repurposed many times. And more mysterious archways to nowhere and half-buried archways. And a lot of shoddily added skylights on this structure here. Look at the way these roofs are all concaved. Do you think they were designed that way? And on the south side of the block, at 516 East 4th Street, we have the old Daugherty hardware building, supposedly built in 1912. And this one appears to have a makeshift cornerstone with the name Vernon J. Price as the architect. No other details given. And looking into him, he supposedly was awarded a contract to a town called Ironton, Minnesota, with a population of less than 1,100 in the year 1915 to build this high school right here, the Crosby Ironton High School. Yet that building was supposedly built in 1913, and this picture is from 1914. Quite interesting. And these are the only projects attributed to this architect, Vernon J. Price. Also interesting. And these timelines are not adding up. Either that or they are very sloppy in their narrative writing. And a beautiful hardware store indeed. Actually, now it's owned by St. Luke's Hospital, I believe. Personally, I like that bay window. It is quite asymmetrical to only have one, though. I wonder if that was added later or original. And returning to the north side of the block, we take a closer look here at 513 East 4th Street. And what on the front is inscribed Tufia Building. And this is, according to records, supposedly built in 1891. And interesting, this Tufia Building is not listed anywhere. Nowhere is it titled this. And it doesn't even appear to show it in the 1910 picture when we zoomed in. But it's interesting that they would just kind of give these names and forget them of all of these buildings on this block. There seems to be a pattern here. Now this beautiful structure definitely appears to be half buried. You can really see it from the backside here. And moving west on the northern side of the block, we bring our attention to 505 East 4th Street, currently home of the Asian Kitchen, supposedly built in 1901. And the oldest records I can find have no name for this building. Yet there was supposedly some kind of a kitchen or oven listed on the old charts at the turn of the century. So apparently this has been a restaurant since the turn of the century. Now this vacant lot, right next to 520 East 4th Street, Uncle Louie's building here, this burned down November 19th of 2021. And that building was supposedly built in 1899. And look, what do we have here? Some buried old bricks. Interesting, and here's an old picture of the building after it burned out in 2021. You can tell this building was old world. And yet I could find no information or build dates on this building here housing Uncle Louie's Cafe. And here's a current aerial east to west point of view shot. I don't know, folks, but what do you think? It sure looked prettier in 1910 than it does now. All we've done is dress down these beautiful structures and take off the beautiful gables and the details. And what do you folks think? Does this look like it was repurposed, already here? Or did we build it as they told us? Please leave your comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.